Well, this is 100 Days of Discipleship, day 99. Let me tease you all. First and foremost, for those of you who are day 55, you will come some days, you will not come. Now you are the one saying, let's take it to 150. You want to wound me? For the international audience, it means you want to injure me. All right? For the more local audience, Mini, you know. But what a journey it has been. Glory be to God. I'm just excited about the honor, the privilege to do this. Let me say this. This is the last time I will do this like this. And this is what I mean. I'm tired of sprinkle theology. And so the next time I'm anticipating something more didactic, something more robust. If we're going to do this, let's do this properly. Okay? So that's what I'm anticipating. How we're going to do that, I'm not exactly sure. Okay? Otherwise, we still keep this as a skeletal structure and then maybe to whet your appetite for a more robust curricula, some way, somehow. So but that's what I have in mind, basically. What has been your experience? Do let me know. Have you been blessed? And I think it'll mean a lot to me if you do not just let me know. Put it out there and let people see. Share your testimony. And let's know how this has blessed you. Media team, I think this internet is breaking, or is it my data subscription? All right. Okay, so you just let me know how this has been for you. Well, today I want to be Pauline in my approach and just address some matters arising. And the first thing I want to say is, I am a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, a peculiar person to show forth the praise of him who has called me out of darkness into his marvelous light. I don't know what you thought I was referring to. I'm actually just quoting the scriptures. I am a chosen generation. Okay. And you see, when it comes to the viral issue about the trend, I am a chosen, I want to say this. Two things. Number one, even ministries that have genuine miracles, they struggle because, you see, verifying every testimony in a mega church is very difficult. Very difficult. Verifying every testimony is very difficult. In our ministry, I like to see evidence. Many of the testimonies I share have medical reports, before and after scans and things like that. But even then, it's not easy. Because there is this thing in churches. I think the psychological term will be FOMO, all right? Fear of missing out. When you see others sharing great testimonies, then you want to share your own. Then you want to share your own. And you want to make it as interesting as possible. So there are things like that. And there are also genuine testimonies that are exaggerated. So you want shock effect. In fact, that's why for a long time I took out testimonies the way it is popularly shared in most charismatic churches. I took out testimonies. I want to be able to hear the testimonies behind the scenes, do some findings, and then share. All right? It has its pros and cons because, how many people want to go through the rigors of coming to the maybe office or telling someone their testimony so that it will be shared. It doesn't just have the same effect. And if people are coming up, people will be more incentivized, to come up and share their testimonies. But the scrutiny is not as firm, it's not as harsh. And don't get me started with some examples. I mean, there's a church that I really respect and I have sentiments for. One woman came up to announce how that she keyed into a prophecy from the church last year, and she got elected to a government office, and all of that. But months later, they showed her arrested. She was embezzling government funds. So those are the kind of things. And for a great ministry, you're endorsing those things. So I want to say first and foremost that even for the most well-meaning charismatic ministry, it is not easy. It is not easy. Also, I can tell you, even in my personal life, there are some testimonies I don't share. Because believe me, if I told you, you will not believe it. You will not believe it. All right? You will not believe it. I think I was sharing this on TikTok yesterday, and because of that, I just had a nudge to share it here as well. I was having a healing meeting in school. This was 2010 or so. And all manner of wonderful things were happening. People were getting healed. I remember someone running to me and in tears. His finger was cut off by weak glue, and the finger grew back during the service. Now, he was showing me the finger, so there was no way to verify because I didn't know what the finger looked like before. So he was like, "Can't you see?" So I said, "I can see it, but I don't know what it looked like before." So he was just excited. He couldn't believe his eyes and all of that. So those kind of things were happening in the meeting. Now, the one that shocked me and the one I hardly share is this. One lady reportedly during the worship, her hands were up. By the time she brought her hands down, there was a handkerchief in her hand. So she came to me and said, see what I saw in my hand. I'm like, let me tell you something. There are some testimonies people share. I also doubt it. I'm like, what do you mean by that? What kind of, what are you talking about? She said, now, she swore by everything sacred, but I wasn't having it. So she wanted to give it to me. I said, give it to me. Now me give you. Do you understand? Take it back. Now, the interesting thing is, according to her, for the next 24 hours thereabout, every sick person she laid that mantle on was healed. That's strange. Strange. So, but and that's not one of the strangest things. There are some things I basically cannot tell. So, follow the line of thoughts. Number one, even genuine ministries, it's very hard to vet testimonies sometimes in a way that encourages people to share testimonies. And then when you're a ministry that emphasizes the supernatural, that there's nothing impossible for God to do, if you're doubting everything everybody says. I mean, look at the example of Pastor Paul Eneche, whom I respect very much. Because of public scrutiny and everything, and because he wanted to show he was a man of integrity, he challenged someone who was sharing testimony that did not sound or seem believable. Guess what? It was true. And at the end of the day, he was castigated for that again. See, we are in interesting times. Interesting times. And if anything, that testimony proves to you that just because it doesn't seem believable, doesn't mean it isn't. I mean, people have posted what seems to be evidence of genuine testimonies in that ministry. I saw one, the car was crashed and he was meters away, on the floor. It looked supernatural to me, even to me. It looked supernatural to me. If he goes and shares a testimony that a hand pulled him from the car, and put him elsewhere. Because the car, and I believe everybody in the car was squashed behind, and here he was, separate from the car, meters away, on the other side of the road, on the floor and unharmed, unscathed. How do you explain that? So if he says he saw a big hand that picked him and dropped him there, you will not believe. Do you understand what I'm saying? But believe me when I say those things happen. Those things happen. Those things happen. I've had a teleportation experience before. Believe it or not. Now, it wasn't some of the cool ones that some people share, like interstate or even intercountry, traveling without visa. That one has never happened to me. But in a small space, I don't need to give details on that. And I permit you not to agree, not to believe. You are permitted not to believe. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's some testimonies I don't even bother sharing, because I'm not sharing it to impress you. If you don't believe it happened, that's fine. Okay? In general, it is not as easy to deceive people as people think. If you see thousands, tens of thousands of people in a ministry, it is more likely that they are using satanic powers than that nothing is happening there at all. All right? I'm not being an apologist for the ministry. I'm just saying, even in a gullible generation, people aren't as gullible as you think. People aren't as gullible as you think. Even the people who patronize herbalists will tell you, this one no work. It no work. If it doesn't work, people can't tell. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, that's also something to bear in mind. That being said, some people now stretch this to another extreme where they begin to say things like, you see, and that's why I'm worried about trends. Because from doubting the miracles in the ministry, they begin to say, well, it's the same thing with the Bible. Why do you believe the Bible's testimonies? Some skeptics have stretched it that way. And I want to make a quick distinction. There is a phrase that you must never forget, and you've probably heard me say it before. It's called eyewitness accounts. Eyewitness accounts. The testimonies of Jesus were verified by other people. The testimonies of the apostles were verified by other people. There was not any doubt. There wasn't any doubt whether those things happened, because many of the people it happened to were known people. When the Bible tells you that there was a man who was lame from his mother's womb and sat at the gate called Beautiful, everybody knew him. He was there every day. When they were going into the temple every day, they were giving alms. And so when Peter says, silver and gold have I not, what I have given unto you, in the name of Jesus, rise up and walk. And he stands up. Listen, everybody knew that guy. Do you understand what I'm saying? He was someone everybody knew. And it happened in the presence of everybody. He got up from there, never to return there anymore. Look at the young man in John chapter 9 that was born blind, that was healed. The Pharisees sent for his parents. John chapter 9. They sent for his parents to verify. They verified it. And when they were pressing too hard, the parents said, he's an adult. Ask him. Ask him. He's of age. And the guy just said, you know what? I don't really know theology. I don't understand the theological jargon you are quoting. All I know is once I was blind and now I can see. The Bible tells you in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 3, Paul speaking. He says, for I I shared with you that which I also received. How that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures. He was buried according to the scriptures. He rose again the third day according to the scriptures. Then he began to share evidence. He was seen of Cephas and then of the 12. and then he was seen of 500 people at the same time. By the way, the fact that he was seen by 500 people at the same time cancels out the possibility that these people were hallucinating, because it's a scientific impossibility that 500 people can hallucinate at the same time. It was not a vision. And Paul said, many of whom are still alive, though some have slept. Meaning, go and check it. As at the time of the writing, there were people who were eyewitnesses. Eyewitnesses. So I saw this as a slippery slope. People always looking for an opportunity to try to discredit the Bible. It no go work. Okay? It no go work. In the plagues of Egypt, everybody saw it. It got to a point the Egyptians were pressuring Pharaoh. Answer these people now. But boy, you humble yourself. Let these people go. Let these people go. Historians say that was why Jonah didn't need to perform any miracle. After you've heard the stories in Egypt when a Jewish prophet is at your doorstep and he says, God said repent, otherwise. The king of Nineveh said, if anybody touch food for this kingdom for the next 3 days, let me catch you. He said, we are all fasting. He says, all your animals will fast. Just in case just in case some people who look like animals are human beings, nobody must mistakenly eat. So both man and animals must fast. And they did. Stop joking about this. Rahab said, I heard how God parted the Red Sea. I know God has given you Jericho. I know God has given you Jericho already. He has given you already. She said it ahead of time. Because I know He parted the Red Sea. She was right. The walls came down. The walls came down. This is not just some story. This is the history of a nation that still exists today. The history of a nation that still exists today. So stop that silly attempt to just extrapolate, suspicions to the Bible. I can tell you one thing for a fact: if they could find anything against the Bible, they would have found it since. No be today. All right? No be today. No be today. That being said, it does not mean people are wrong to test all things and to hold on to what is true. This does not justify their making jest of it, wearing the vests to clubs, and doing all manner of foolish jesting. But does that mean that every Christian should just accept every testimony, hook, line, and sinker? No. No. And end this idea of thinking that the desire to verify testimonies means that you are not a believer. It's not true. It's not true. If you are doing that generally for every single testimony you hear, even testimonies that share details beyond reasonable doubt, then that's a totally different thing. But the fact is this, and this is what nobody is saying. When you look at the trend of testimonies, there is a desire, a hidden desire, a not so hidden desire, for the testimonies to sound spectacular. That's the problem. That's the problem. And so it's fitting that you step back and you say, wait a minute. Because people exaggerate. People lie. And yes, even in church. Do you understand? So I believe that's that. But at the end of the day, there are some arguments I don't know. I've seen too much to argue some things. You don't believe in miracles? Don't worry. You will live long enough. You will see things. Because some of the people who will challenge you in this lifetime, they believe in miracles. Don't hold on to the power of God. People will use power of Satan to deal with you very well. They will deal with you. You will see. That's not a threat. It's just life. You will live long enough and see things. You will live long enough and see things. You know, there was a lady I was praying for. And I was trying to trace where this problem started. So the mom told me how that when the girl was about 2 years plus, she began to play with an imaginary friend. So the mother said, "Who are you playing with?" And she called the name of the imaginary friend an Igbo name and said, "That is my younger brother." The mom was not pregnant. She was playing with this imaginary friend she said was a younger brother for about 3 months or 4 months. After a while, the imaginary friend was nowhere to be found. And then she pointed at the mom's stomach and called that same Igbo name and said, "That imaginary friend is in her stomach." And the woman went to the hospital to confirm she was pregnant. Gave birth to a boy. Be playing, oh. Yeah? Keep it up. Keep it up. Dance and play. Mock it. When you need it, then your eye will open up. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are some people I wish I can invite to some meetings so that you will give your learned perspective to why 7 guys cannot hold a teenager. You know. So all I will advise you is this: don't joke with the supernatural in your life. The consequences will be dire. All right. Well, this is 100 days of discipleship. I wanted to talk about something else too, but I think this is okay. This has stretched long enough. Wow. So see you tomorrow for the last episode. God bless you all. Thank you.